Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here to give you your daily dose of the roars as we scream about the stupidity of the modern world of the technology industry. Basically, I come here every day so I can earn YouTube money, so I can provide free to the end user hands-on technology education in Durham, North Carolina. Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. We have many in-person classes coming up. If you're interested, take a look at the schedule at silicondojo.com. If you want to help support the project, there is a donor box link down below. And with that, let's get into the roaring. Let's get into the roaring. And I think this is interesting. I think this is kind of one of those interesting titles for an article where the truth is in the title, but it's a truth most people do not want to handle. So this is coming from CNBC, and I think it's an important thing to understand, especially for those people in the technology world. Amazon cut more than 1,800 engineers in record layoffs, despite saying it needs to, quote, innovate faster. And the truth is simply in the statement. So why this is supposed to be controversial is Andy Jassy, the CEO of Amazon, has basically come out and said there are too many layers of bureaucracy. Amazon is no longer moving fast enough. So the idea is to get rid of layers of bureaucracy in the Amazon system, right? So you hear that, and you hear that there's going to be major layoffs. So you think, okay, you're going to get rid of managers, you're going to get rid of HR people, you're going to get rid of those folks. You're not actually going to get rid of, engineers, the people that are doing the work. And it's like, well, no, they're not going to get rid of people that are doing the work. But the problem is in the modern world of tech, a lot of these engineers aren't actually doing the work. And one of the things I've talked about before is many of these engineers are about as innovative as a fucking brick. So therefore, Amazon getting rid of 1,800 people that probably aren't actually helping the bottom line and probably can't innovate their way out of a wet paper bag actually does make a lot of sense, right? And I think we're going to be seeing more of this in the tech world, where people are going to be like, I don't understand. I thought these companies, needed, all of this tech talent or whatever else. It's like, yes, the companies need tech talent. The companies definitely 100% need people that are skilled in the world of technology. That has nothing to do with people that are getting laid off. And so this is something that you do need to be careful about. This is something to be thinking about, right? If you are in the corporate world already, is really taking a look and asking yourself, is the current project you're working on adding to the bottom line of your company in any way, shape, or form? If you are drunk and you look at it out of the corner of your eye, can you imagine some way this brings money to your company? Or even when you do that, or you're like, no, this is kind of a stupid project, right? Are the people on your team doing well? That type of deal. And one of the things to be thinking about is, if the answer is no, you probably want to jump ship, at least within your company, and try to lateral over to something that's actually being of some value, right? The big issue we've had, I've talked about this for 10 years, is that they've been hiring. It's been more important to have people with asses in seats than who could actually do the job. And now they're just liquidating people en masse. And so a lot of people that thought they were doing the right thing, I'm doing the right thing. I am getting a degree in coding. But here's the thing, and that's what I've talked about before. What is your job? Right? And the problem with the modern world, the problem with a lot of young people nowadays, if you ask them what their job is, they'll be like, coding. We're like, no. But what is really your job? Be like, well, working on a team to code. No, but what really is your job? And they'll say all this, right, fluffy horse crap they've been taught, through their years of education. The thing that won't come out of their mouths is, my job at the end of the day is to bring the corporation profit. And so you have a lot of people out there that are highly educated that don't grasp, at the end of the day, their only actual job is to bring the corporation profit, and then they're going to be confused and gobsmacked and the rest of it when they get laid off or whatever else. Because yeah, their jobs, what they do every day, isn't actually bringing real value to the corporation. So anyways, we take a look at this. Amazon's 14,000 plus layoffs announced last month touched almost every piece of the company's sprawling business, from cloud computing and devices to advertising, retail, and grocery stores. But one job category bore the brunt of the cuts more than others. Engineers. That's painful, right? Documents filed in New York, California, New Jersey, and Amazon's home state of Washington show that nearly 40% of the more than 4,700 job cuts in those states were engineering roles. Again, when you think about layers of bureaucracy being eliminated, you're like, yeah, motherfuckers! I guess you have to get a real job now, you fucking stupid ass managers. Oh, who's important? Who's the boss now? Not you, motherfucker. You're fired. And then yeah, it's 40% of the people that were fired are the engineers. Yeah, who's impressive now, motherfucker? It's impressive now. The figures represent a segment of the total layoffs announced in October. In announcing the steepest round of cuts in its 31-year history, Amazon joined a growing roster of tech companies that have slashed jobs this year, even as cash piles have mounted and profits soared. That's a fucked up thing, too. Profits are actually going up. In total, there have been almost 113,000 job cuts at 231 companies, according to Layoffs.fyi, continuing a trend that began in 2022 as businesses readjusted to life after the COVID pandemic. Amazon has said in a statement that AI is not the driver behind the vast majority of the job cuts, and I would probably agree with that, right? The big thing that you hear nowadays is AI. I want you to understand, this doesn't have much to do with AI. This has everything in the world to do with a world that no longer has 1% interest rates, right? Rich people, high net worth individuals, used to be able to borrow money for 1% interest rate per year. They then put it into stocks and all that kinds of things for the tech companies, wanting to get 20% returns. So basically, they were looking at a 19% spread. Right? I borrow $1 million at 1% or 2% or whatever interest. I try to get a 20% return. I make $100,000 or $190,000 a year. Shit you not, from taking money here, putting money there. That's how I earn 4 times the average salary in the United States. The problem is, right, interest rates have gone up, the investment market has gone all wonkadoodle, so there's not as many rich people doing that work anymore, which basically means everything's going to hell, right? This has very little to do with AI. And then the bigger goal was to reduce bureaucracy and emphasize speed. So that is the other thing to be thinking about here. Again, getting rid of bureaucracy and emphasizing speed. When you hear that, you're not thinking 40% of the layoffs are going to be engineers. Unless you worked in the tech world for a while, unless you've seen the disaster of the past decade of the tech world for a while, then you're like, oh, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Hey, you know how you can make all this faster? Yeah, if you get rid of a lot of these people. Just get rid of half the engineers, and you'll actually double the amount of work that comes out. Jassy said on Amazon's earnings call last month that the cuts were in response to a, quote, culture issue inside the company, what I've been screaming about for a fucking decade, spurred in part by an extended hiring spree that left it with, quote, a lot more layers and slower decision making. Yep. The layoffs impacted a mix of software engineer levels, but SDE roles or mid-level employees were disproportionately affected, the Warren filing show. More than 500 product managers and program managers were eliminated as part of the layoffs, representing more than 10% of the total. Senior manager and principal level roles were also swept up in the cuts, the filing shows. So there we go. We're starting to see more of what's going on with the Amazon layoffs and the other layoffs. And basically, it is going to hammer the hell out of the tech industry. This is just how the hell it is. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be crying. They're going to be crying. This is so horrible. No, it's not. Puts a smile on my face. Oh, thank God. Thank God. Oh, I can start having reasonable discussions again. I think the weird thing, like being in the tech world for like 30 years, and going through the ups and downs, is that you actually go through the ups and downs. And I gotta say, it was nice. It was nice. 10 years ago, or pre-10 years ago, 11 years ago, 12 years ago, 13 years ago, you go to tech meetups, or you go to tech events, and you met tech people, and you would talk about deployments, and you would talk about maintenance, and you talk about new frameworks and new products, and you talk about latency, and you talk about all kinds of cool stuff. And then, as I've said, 10 years ago, about 2015, when they really started over-hiring for positions they didn't really need to hire for. You start going to tech meetups and the rest of it, and I don't know, people start talking about BLM. Well, don't get me wrong. If you want to protest for BLM, by God, protest for BLM. But when I'm going to like an AI meetup, or I'm going to a, networking thing or whatever else, like networking, actually TCP/IP and all that kind of horse shit, right? And that's a weird part, right? You start going to these events, and all of a sudden, so many people are in the event are talking about shit that has nothing to do with latency, right? And the reason is because they have a tech job. They have a tech job, but their work isn't tech. They really don't have much work to do, so they do the work that they understand, and the work that they understand is bitching about shit. And so then you go to these events, and all of a sudden you're around people and you're just like, what the? Can we talk about replication strategies? Can we talk about heartbeats? Hey, the only heartbeat I care about? I care about the heartbeat of my clusters. How about that? Fuck. So anyways, what we're going to see is we're going to see our industry get cleansed. It is getting cleansed. And that is a good thing. And that's what you have to understand with this, right? If you actually want to be in the technology world, right? If you actually are passionate, not that you say that you're passionate, not that you've been told that you need to be passionate or whatever else. If you actually care about this industry, it's actually going to be better in a number of years, because it means you're going to be working with more people in more departments on more projects that are actually doing pretty cool, interesting things, and you're going to be more focused on doing the actual fucking work. Right? There is going to be less of the day in the life of a geek. Again, and I've seen this, and as I've said before, I don't even understand this, right? What is the day, like when I was actually doing my normal job, when I owned my business, and when I was actually running around the country and all that, what is the day in the life of a geek? I would walk in, I grab my cup of coffee, I go into the server room, which you're not supposed to do. Don't take your cups of coffee in the server room, but fuck you, I'm Eli, the computer guy. So I take my cup of coffee into the server room, and anyway, hello, it's reality, right? And then you sit down at your system that has the work orders or whatever else, and you pull up your work orders. And back then, for me, we didn't have the tablets or whatever, so you print out all your work orders. And then you go through, you sort the ones that are easy to fix, you sort the ones that are hard to fix, you sort the ones that are in the middle of fixing, and then you start doing that. And then you start calling people, then you start talking to people, then you start going around, right? And there's no, right? You know what my lunch used to look like? You know these fuckers at Twitter? And they go to their fancy lunches and they have like quinoa salad. Do you know what my lunches used to be? A fucking Cliff Bar. If I was lucky, I got two. Right? A goddamn cup of coffee and a fucking Cliff Bar was my lunch. You want to know why? Because there was fucking work to do. I didn't sit down and quinoa fucking salads. I wasn't sitting there waiting for the barista to create my really special fucking cappuccino. You want to know why? Because there was work to do. But anyways, tell the kids that nowadays and they cry. Why are you so bitter? Maybe it was years of Cliff Bar and coffee for lunch. I don't know. But anyways, the thing to be thinking about, and this doesn't have to be 996, right? When I talk about this doesn't have to be 996. It is an 8-hour day. You go in and you actually just do your work. And I think it'll be better. I honestly do. And so this is the thing to be thinking about, right? If you're in this profession, or if you want to be in this profession, this is why you currently have to work on projects. This is why you currently have to go out and find things to play with. This is why you have to go out and you have to go to meetups and you have to go to events. You have to learn about things, and you have to go home and you have to research those things. And then you create some project about that thing that you research, and you throw that fucker up on the GitHub. Apparently use gitignore. I need to figure out get ignore. Anyways, yes, apparently there's get ignore. I think I got it working right now. Anyways, right, and you do this so you have a portfolio and people see what you're doing, and you can find other people that are working on interesting projects, and then you can move ahead. But that would entail you actually giving a shit about this industry. It's amazing how many motherfuckers out there say they're passionate about this industry, but then when you ask them when was the last time they published anything to GitHub, not only was it over a year ago, but they're like, why am I gonna do that if I don't have a job? You're like, wow. You must have a different definition for passion than I do. I think you have a passion for a $150,000 salary. I don't think you have a passion for function calls. But anyways, what do I know? So what do you think about this? What do you think about Amazon's job cuts actually hitting about 40% engineers? Are you like me that thinks that's probably about right? It's probably, maybe, might be a little low. Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and put a strong American comment down there. Do you remember why I do these? Is for Silicon Dojo, authorityless, gatekeeperless, free to end user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. We're having a class coming up on extending AI capabilities using REST APIs. Wow, actually building shit with AI. Anyways, that class is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. We have another class coming up on Moondream for computer vision with a vision model. We're going to have more classes coming up every few weeks. If you're interested, take a look at silicondojo.com. These are in-person classes, so you can look at the schedule. If you want to help support what I'm doing, there's a donor box link down below. And with that, see y'all later.